Some of you might not know much about Whatifalthist history, or you have a vague recollection from a YouTube video you might have watched a few years ago. Now, Whatifalthist history is an alternative, or I would say at this point was an alternative history YouTuber. I gotta say, not the best branding decision if you're gonna be moving away from alternative history YouTube videos to still have the name Whatifalthist history. This is why I went with DylanBurnsTV, because I mean, if I want to become a painting channel next, I mean, still Dylan Burns, that doesn't change. But Whatifalthist history, still his name. He's a Canadian-American YouTuber who's mostly known for the all his videos before, but has transitioned into more geopolitical content and political content, and has about like 7 or 8 months ago, kind of crowned himself in some way, or at least picked up the torch to say, look, we need to lead, you know, the right-wing movement and conservatism in this direction, and he really wants to be kind of a voice for conservative reason, to both moderate the image of, I guess, the far right, or not the far right, I guess you could say the online right, not the alt-right, I don't know what to call it, because it's really because he doesn't love Nazis, right? But he also hangs around with a lot of the really like right-wing sections of the internet. And so I think he wants to have a more amicable image of the American right with staunch right-wing values. It's really hard to kind of make it out because some of it's a little contradictory. But I'm hoping today we can learn the specifics of what he, you know, where he comes from and what he believes. Because he released, besides he's made this kind of transition from, you know, just alternative media commentary to, not alternative media commentary, but alt history videos to alternative media, geopolitics, and conservative commentary. He also made a deep dive into ayahuasca. He took ayahuasca, he started tripping a bit, and then he released a video. Now, I'm presuming he didn't release it while tripping, but, you know, after, you know, an adventure into the political realm, he decides to release, with his ayahuasca adventure as well, hand in hand, he decides to release this video, 6.5 hours long, 2 parts, where he talks about his upbringing, and he brings out a biography, and I'm trying to imagine this man, who sees himself as somebody who can, you know, maybe clean the image and lead the right on a new way forward, the online right, have a place where people on the right can go and laugh at the, you know, at the soy libtards and, you know, really wreck the woke and get together and kumbaya it. This man wants to do that while releasing videos talking about what he talks about. Now, there's a lot here, and I don't know if we're going to watch all of it, but we're going to talk about the fact that he said he's a wizard now. And when I say that, I mean, if you look at his description here, if you look at, for example, religious beliefs, Rudy's father is a Catholic, Rudier's father, sorry, and his mother is a Protestant. They both raised him as a Quaker Protestant. Early in life, he became a self-described non-conforming Protestant. On 27th of December, 2024, he proclaimed himself a wizard. He proclaimed himself a wizard. Let's listen to the wizard.
Absolutely insane.
Okay.
And if you're
so this guy got a compilation of it, and the reason why we have to use like re-uploads like this is because he deleted the video after uploading it. Maybe it did not get the reaction he wanted. He says that a lot of this is a joke, but I mean, it's a 6.5 hour joke with not really much laughter in it, and it doesn't take it as a joke. I think he really is just like slightly backpedaling, to put it lightly. Let's listen.
If I lived through it, you can watch it. Also, for your ancestors, their kids saw their parents fuck, they saw them kill animals. Next comes my dad, Mark Lynch. He's an expert in regional...
I don't have it up on screen, 1 second.
...and international banking. My father has the same obsessive nerd spirit as what I have, where he's read over 300 books on banking history. He may be the person in the world who's read the most banking history. And so growing up, he would explain Marxist lies to me. I'm sorry, I love you, Dad, but you have very strong Asperger's. My father had crippling mercury poisoning when he inseminated me, which nearly killed him. He would leave me at home for weeks when he was on business trips for work and expected me to take care of the house. Now we get to my mom's side of the family, and there's an interesting detail here that my great-grandma was kind of a hoe, and that she was sleeping with two men. My mom forced me to be born with a midwife around 4 a.m. since she believes hospitals killed the spirit of a child through how they birthed children, and she also forced me to get no vaccines as a kid since she believed they were dangerous to spiritual development. My mom was really against the COVID vaccine. She cut out my sister during COVID because my sister took the vaccine. My mom would literally make moonshine in the garage, and my mom was...
Okay, now look, some of this is pretty wacky. He can't control his family, but it is hard to think, you know, with him talking about being possessed by Odin, which we're going to get into in a bit, that none of this could have had an impact on his development. But the mercury poisoning is interesting. The cutting out of his sister due to them getting COVID vaccinated is interesting. I mean, considering how many millions of people got COVID vaccinated, I mean, what are you going to go live out like on a farm like the Amish? If you're going to be cutting out people for getting COVID vaccinated. I mean, how many jobs required that? How many people went out and did that because they cared about people in their life that were immunocompromised? Well, whatever. A lot of family lore. I mean, you got to think, if you're What If Alt History as a kid, you go to your dad so he can tell you about ponying the communists, and you go to your mom to tell you if you get vaccinated, you're no longer my child. Goodbye. How does that affect a young What If Alt History growing up as a young whippersnapper?
kicked in the head by a horse. And...
Oh, sorry, what?
Out my sister during COVID because my sister took the vaccine. My mom would literally make moonshine in the garage, and my mom was kicked in the head by a horse. And I just assumed my mom was dead for the next 2 days, and she was brain dead. After she nearly died, said that she had visited God. She said that God had forced her to come back to help people. This resulted in her immediately divorcing my father. She claimed that my dad was an alcoholic who was beating her and my sister and me. There's literally no evidence for this at all. However, my mom is a literal schizophrenic. My mom really spiraled with getting kicked in the head by a horse. She had issues beforehand, and then it became magnified. And her entire...
He did this for 12 hours, 6.5. He did this for 6.5 hours.
Life.
By the way, this is the mild stuff. This is just the stuff you're like, wow, really spilling out all of your family drama to me right now. It's like, look, it's nothing wrong with somebody saying, look, I have a wacky family member, did this, did that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just so much one after the other, after the other, after the other.
Since that has been a downward spiral towards greater and greater madness. My mom said that God had told her the best way she could help human history was by torturing me. She said she...
Damn. I thought my mom was bad, honestly.
Told her the best way she could help human history was by torturing me. She said she did this since she loved me, and God told her that the more she tortured me, the more vastly disproportionate the impact on human history would be in a positive way. My mother had raped me over 40 times in that age range. The details make things even vastly worse. My mother waterboarded me at least 2 or 3 times, or drowning me in the bath. My mom had forced me to rape my own sister, and she had forced the babysitter to rape me. My mom had burned me with scalding water to punish me, hit me in the back with a shovel as a kid. A few memories have really stuck with me, and they required years of EMDRs to clean out. One was my mom beating me over the head with a 1,000-page book. That was her standard move, and she did it hundreds of times. The sound's been locked in my ears as a crack, like gunpowder. I just hear... It's so loud, and it was stuck in my ears. When I was stressed, my ears would block up with sounds. So when I'd have panic attacks, I'd hear the sound crackling in my ears. And it's just, I can't overstate how horrible it is. I needed so many EMDRs to heal from this. My mom would...
That's a lot. That's a lot to put out there. They got really dark. Now, mind you, I don't know how to react to this because, like, it's like, he says it's so matter of fact, and he just kind of goes through it so quickly, and there's so much of stuff like this in the 6.5 hour video that you don't really know how to absorb it, how to take it in. the horse kick to the head, the mom who's met God and then God told him to torture her son, then the endless beat his son with a shovel. It's like it goes off the rails so quickly. It makes you question not only like how real any of it is, because there's just so much of it, because there's so much of it that's one after the other. It's not impossible. But then later, when it's like goes from him getting beaten by a shovel from his mom to like basically what is described as, I don't know how to put it, but like voodoo, ritualistic, like crazy, like paganist, like crazy magic stuff. The type of stuff you would read about in a Lord of the Rings novel, not in like, you know, I don't know, something that's on planet Earth. It just makes you question, like, where is like the line? How much of this is his real life? How much of this is crazed delusion? How much of this does he know is crazed delusion? And how much of this is just stuff he's making up? If it's not, he actually believes that things happen because he tripped a little too hard. You know if any of this is true? He didn't provide a record of any of these abuses, no, but I mean, like, if somebody's like, yeah, well, as a kid, I was beat by my mom, do anybody really say, source, show me the marks. Could you please, I want to talk to the mom right now. I don't usually see that, so, but with so much stacked on top of each other, you ask.
Claimed to own me and my soul and gave me no privacy. She would walk in on me in the shower and bathroom and scream at me, or give me an unprompted reminder that she was in charge. She hated me just for being a man, and she said she owned my penis. She would tell me that she could see into my mind, and she punished bad thoughts. My mom unironically practiced black magic. She was doing satanic rituals when I was a kid. I know this. I've seen it. I have photographic memory. I remember. This is all real. She believed that she practiced magic, and she did. I don't know how effective it is, but it objectively happened. As said before, my mom would drown me in a bath a few times, and that was one of her favorite methods to torture me. She used it to try to get me to break me. Her whole goal was to break me. And there were a couple times where I did something she didn't like, and then she just drowned me. My mom would also hold me down and smash my head against the bathroom floor repeatedly. This was really difficult for me to move past, and I still have nightmares about it now.
I would imagine it'd be difficult to move past. Like, yeah, it's just the way he talks about it. How he talks about it, like, it's the same tone he talks about wizardly magic, the Wizards of Waverly Place later. It's the same tone he talks about, like, yeah, it was really hard to get over my mother beating me half to death with a shovel and trying to drown me in black magic rituals. After she said she met God, after getting kicked in the head with the horse, promptly divorcing her husband, who was giving me like anti-communist woke training in the trenches. Yeah, that'd be a little hard to get past. It's just the tone. Everything about this is so weird. What was the plan here? What was the purpose of this? Was this to just get it on the record in case he croaked tomorrow and he, didn't have enough time to write a biography? What's the purpose of getting any of this out there? And I'm not trying to be mean about somebody sharing their life story or their struggles, but it's like I don't, like, each of these could presumably deserve like their own entire like Black Magic Mom could be its own 1 hour video. Why? And you could, like, with like, hey, here's a police report when she drowned that cat and like stuck it up on the crosses. Why package it like this and then pitch it out there, delete it after, and then walk it back? Why?
There was an experience that bordered on spiritual where my mom was smashing my head against the bathroom floor and I passed out from the suffering. I basically psychically orgasmed from how bad the pain was, feeling ecstasy in the suffering. I found
No one could torture that out of me. Nobody could get that out of me. Why would you share this? Why would you share that information? Like, I would understand, like, sharing details of what is this? Somebody saying like Dylan is all to make him like a dark backstory for his grifting career. Who would want their dark backstory to be that their mother, their black magic mother, beat them with the shovel so much that they ejaculated in ecstasy because they start. That's not a cool conservative backstory. That's not like, yeah, I grew up on a farm. I'm Jimmy Carter, not a conservative man, but, a man of God, people trusted him. He's a peanut farmer, he gave up his peanut farm, he's a good old country boy. You go to, I remember people, they have an image that's cultivated from like a family history, like political leaders. Who wants to be known as the black magic shovel beating ejaculator? And I mean, I'm not saying that to be like, if all these abuses truly happened, which is a wild story, like to be like, oh, ha ha ha. But I'm just saying, like, if you're saying it's like a grift, and I'm imagining in my head, like, this all can't possibly be true. It's so much. It's so crazy. I'm just trying to think, what's the pitch here? Because the way this was reacted to online was not, wow, what a tragic figure. It was like, dude, what the fuck is this? And then he deleted it afterwards because I don't think he elicited the response he wanted in all of these tales.
That this was one of the most difficult things to heal from with yeah, my mom would also rape me by holding down my legs, and she would force me to do other really horrible things. There's this region around my crotch that even today, if you touch it, I'll shudder. It's a real issue for massages. The masseuse will just touch a part of my body, and I'll have to refrain from screaming. The last girl I was with, she was sleeping over, and then she just touched my shoulder. My shoulder just started shaking uncontrollably, and I had to leave the room. My mom, she would keep beating me.
I hate masseuse problems. Oof. Tough stuff.
Until I basically passed out and gave up, because her whole thing was she wanted to break my will. And she used the 1,000-page book, and she would chase me through the hallways when I tried to run away, and she was taller than me, and so she outran me. And I remember screaming, "Please, mommy, please stop. Please don't touch me, mommy. Please, please, please." I periodically still say, "Please don't touch me" in my sleep, and as a knee-jerk reaction. Like if I'm driving and a driver does something that freaks me out, I'll say, "Please, please don't touch me." It's something that's just unconscious. My mom would just keep beating me harder and harder without saying anything. She just did it. And whenever I'd scream, she would say, "No one's ever going to hear you because we lived in the countryside. Our nearest neighbors were miles away." So I'd scream at the top of my lungs and no one could hear it. I said before that ceiling fans and light are triggers for me with PTSD, where the ceiling fan, I would stare at it while I was getting raped. And I would just look at the ceiling fan, I look at the turbine, and I focused on that while my mom was raping me. And for the light, I would stare up at the lights at the house. And when I was in ayahuasca, I kept seeing the orb of light, which is symbolic for the sun, which powers all things. Even
do you see how this like transfers into his like ayahuasca trip? See, it's I don't know what part of this is real, what part of this is trip, and what part of this is it's impossible for me to dissect. It really, I don't know if I want to call these ramblings, because I can understand what he's saying, but there's so much information coming out that I don't know what to call it but ramblings. And there's so much, and each bit could be decoded so much that you're kind of jumping from point to point to point to point. I'm sorry, I'm kind of processing this with the rest of you right now because there's so much here. I almost wonder, there's so much on his mom mistreating him. I feel like I gotta skip forward because there's so much. His mechanical elves must have been pretty bad. And why ayahuasca? Why is it always ayahuasca? What happened to good old American LSD? What happened to good patriotic what happened to good patriotic acid? What about DMT? This guy should not take DMT.
stuff like summer. My mom to me more in the summer. So once there's a certain temperature threshold, my mom was just evil. So she me in the summer, and then there was a time she left me in my room freezing without any furniture or blankets or heating. So when it was cold, I was thinking about that. My mom hurt me so many different ways. My mom was obsessed with the CIA and had read dozens of books about them. She unironically used CIA torture and brainwashing techniques on me. My mom used very advanced brainwashing. She would constantly try to break my sense of reality, and she used gaslighting on what feels like an industrial scale.
Industrial scale.
My mom said she tortured me because she loved me. She told me God told her to do it, and that by torturing me, she was having an enormous impact on history. She said that God told her that no matter how cruel and petty she got, it would have an exponentially positive effect on history, and so she had to torture me as much as possible.
Well, which God? Is this a Christian God? Because I thought she was like a Satanist. Is it Satan? Is Satan the God? Or is she working for both sides? She's like a double agent for God and Satan?
She said that by destroying me, she was destroying men, and she said she kept on removing her responsibility for the situation and the locus control, where she said she wasn't doing this, God was forcing her to do this, because when God gives you an order, you do it. I knew my mom worked with the devil, and I would call her demonically possessed to her face. I would call her demon mommy. Sometimes when she...
Oh, that was hard. Oh, that was a lot.
beat and rapes me, I would scream, "Please go away, demon mommy. You're not my real mommy. I want mommy back." I would have philosophic debates every day between God and the devil. I realized that I was living in hell. And so I got the migraines when my mom made me touch my sister, and they started kicking in because I didn't want to do it. And so my body was trying to stop me, and then she made me do it anyway. And I'm sorry, Valentine. You were there too. You understood what happened. And I'm sorry. It's not my fault, but I'm still sorry. She's a very intelligent person. Remember that she went to Columbia University and was valedictorian of her high school. In between raping and beating me, she would explain the nature of the Platonic forms, Goethe's philosophy, the folk ways of English rural life, and she's a very good cook, another skill she taught me. There were a few times before I had sex, and in the middle of it, I started having a PTSD attack, with PTSD memories flooding back.
Let's take a break from the dark.
Okay, let's go past that. I don't even hear the commentary.
But
nope.
I went on dates with like a dozen different girls in that few month period, including a few Instagram models. I have what shouldn't be high standards, but often turn into them, where I immediately cut out a woman who lies to me, who insults my honor.
Is lying really that high of a standard?
Who is older than 26, who is a whore.
Older than 26? How old is Whatifalthist? I'm 23, right? And as a 23-year-old, if I was to make like a standard of like nobody older than 27, 28, that makes sense. I want somebody like in my 20s, somebody of roughly of the same age of me, between the ages of 18 and 28, makes sense. How old is Whatifalthist? Does anybody know? Somebody over the age of 26. He must be like relatively like 25 or 24, something like that, right? Makes it a tight window, though. Nobody over the age of 26.
Who annoys me. Because my rule is if I would rather stay at home and listen to Korpiklani than go on a date with you, then we will not have a date, and I will stay at home and listen to Korpiklani. The female company must exceed the quality of the heavy metal I listen to get me to leave the house.
Oh, God. Oh, that sentence. Again, that sentence gave me the same feeling that I get when a doctor like hits your knee to like test your reflexes. That dull sensation. It's not like a pain. I don't know. I feel like that dulled my senses. when that made
Burns
impact.
is an immoral,
Morally corrupt, bankrupt man. Hey, thank you so much, Pez, for the tier 1 sub. Appreciate that.
One time I went viral for posting a photo of me when someone posted a really nerdy photo as a caption to something I said. The real photo of me was so handsome as a contrast that it got nearly 1 million views. I am going to hold the "I was so handsome I went viral" card over people for the rest of my life. I cut her after a few months because she was disrespecting me too much and she wasn't easy to deal with. This is my biggest thing with girls. I want you to be passively pleasant enough that I enjoy the act of being with you. And my current issue with dating is I can get lots of women who I can sleep with. It's stuff like this people get super sensitive about because there's a degree of envy and there's a degree of "are you lying?" But yeah, my thing is it's relatively easy for me to get women to sleep with, and
I'm sorry, man. I'm thinking about how I'm sorry. I don't mean to be like that, but it's a 6.5 hour video of just like all stuff like this. Could you imagine being across the table from this guy, and he starts talking about his mom's witchcraftery shovel beatings? Be like, man, I need to get in this guy's drawers. I'm sorry, like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I buy it.
it's very difficult to find women I respect enough that I would marry.
I'm waiting for a sentence he says that I'm like, this is a sentence I can believe with no strings attached, with no further confirmation needed.
Or even date her, because that involves me seeing her on a semi-regular basis. And I've had multiple times in the past where I've gone out with girls for longer than a short period. But I'm just not in a place where just the passive quality of person, like, do you not lie? Are you nice to me? Do you treat me with respect? And then two relatively attractive women sat down in the seat next to me, and they were surrounded by the Harvard Comedy Club. And they were trolling me. And this is why Northeasterners have no manners. What they did was objectively rude and not cool. But they were trying to mock me and berate me. And they open your bag, kid, because I use Mexican artisanal bags. I use leather artisanal Mexican bags. So I showed them the bag, like, who are you? I told them about my life. I told them the stuff I had done, about all those things. And they were super impressed at the end. They started out with roasting me. And then at the end, they were congratulating me because I was showing them how...
Wow, over 100,000 YouTube subs? Really? How many videos about if Germany won? Oh, sir, can I come under the table? Come on. Hey, El Spico, thanks for the primer. Appreciate that.
I was carrying an Esteban cigar, which is one of my favorite brands, next to JFC Fuller's History of Western Warfare, next to the leather bag. And with each story, I was telling them more about my life. And they open your bag, kid, because and this is why Northeasterners have no manners. What they did was objectively rude and not cool. But
okay, let's play this again and again. Skip this. Let's get to the main part, because I want to move on to the other news. I want to move on to real news stories and get off of this. Let's move to the part where we start talking about the gods. Okay, let's get into the truth. The only part of this I'll probably believe.
Now things are about to get...
Take the future of conservatism into my own hands. So I basically decided to take the future of conservatism into my own hands. A manifesto I wrote, the manifesto for the new right, that was dictated to me by God. And God,
bankrupt man.
Oh gosh. The Book of Rudy. The Book of Rudy. Yeah, thank you for the tier 1 sub. I appreciate it. Is this what it must have felt like when prophets from all the religions were around? When it was like, I'm actually God's messenger. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, God says we need more chisels for tablets. Can you get on that? Thank you. Okay, can you go ask God if you can get us more chisels for tablets? Can you ask God to bring down the price of bread? It's gone up half a piece of gold. Come on, like what's the game plan here? What's the game plan? Where does he want to end up here, right? Because in my mind, it's like, okay, so he wants a cult. Does he want a conservative, right-wing, paganish cult around him, where he's bringing forward, conservative fringe beliefs to a new age and gonna normalize them by disassociating with. Does he see himself as some visionary? He's gonna get it. Because if your plan is, oh, I don't want to be associated with these crazy Nazis, but then you just become a different type of crazy. You're just like not like hate crazy, but just cuckoo crazy. Then I don't really know what you're achieving for the conservative movement, because nobody's going to say they had a personal correspondence with God and not mean that they prayed and God told them like they love him very much, like during a stop at a campaign. But if you're saying like, no, God gave me a personal correspondence, so I wrote this, and God told me, once you start doing that, like, you're gone. Nobody's gonna take you seriously. Nobody's gonna take you seriously. If your two claims to fame are alt history YouTuber, and then God's messenger, and think about that. God's gonna talk to anyone on Earth, and he's decided to talk to an alt history YouTuber. Why not, like, I don't know, the leader of a country, or an influential judge, or, you know, oligarch businessman, or, you know, somebody who's going to be at a crucial point at a crucial time, some people with the atomic bomb, car, like anything. An alt history YouTuber, my son, you must make 5 more videos about what would happen if Germany won the war. Then I can come back. Once YouTube is nothing but World War II alt history YouTube videos, then the rapture can commence.
I wrote the manifesto for the New Right. That was dictated to me by God. And God told me that I should integrate science, Christianity, and Darwinism into a single coherent theory.
Coherent, he says. Coherent. He's like, take everything that disagrees with each other, mesh it together, and then like, look, it'd be one thing for you to be like, you know, there's a limitation here, so I'm going to lean on this other thing. But you can't, I'm going to lean on science because there's a limitation in my faith here, or there's a limitation on science, we don't have something to explain this, so I'm going to lean on my faith here. It's one thing to, you know, lean this way, lean that way. But if one thing says it's 2,000 to 3,000 years old, and another thing says you're a moron, you're dragging your knuckles, like, you can't combine it. This is how you get those people who were talking about Revelation. I forget what they were called. But there was this man back in the day who said that, you know, I've calculated the Bible through math, and I used my mathematical equations to calculate the amount of time until the rapture, and it's going to happen in 1872 or whatever, and then it didn't. Because you can't, it's not, the Bible's not a science. The Bible is not a science. You cannot apply modern mathematical or scientific theory to a book where burning bushes are talking to people, and there are great floods brought about, but every animal gets onto the, look, I don't need to go through and say all the like fantastical stories. The point is that God is so powerful that he could do those things, and the laws of man and science bend to his will. So you try to like combine these two things. Good luck if you can do it. It'd be quite impressive.
I've been regularly communicating with God about what he believes the future of the right philosophically should be. And this is what I'm about to feed you in this video is the best.
You know what God said? More Wojaks. More Wojaks, okay? You know the nothing ever happens guy? His stock's going to be high up for a bit. God likes him. God likes him a lot. Now, you know the Femcell Jacks? Not as much of a fan. Not as much of a fan. We're going to decrease those in the market.
Attempt. Think of how many people communism killed, that being more than every other ideology in history combined, as Matthew White, the greatest expert on this topic, pointed out. Communism was there to kill all religion, and we are here to enable all religions. Our goal is to save as many lives and help as many people as communism has hurt. Please help us in achieving our goal. I was praying to God.
I don't think that's true. Communism has killed more lives than every other ideology and religion in human history. That can't be true. It's certainly killed a lot. But I mean, like, since when? Since the beginning of man? So, like, all the early monarchists, all the fascists, all the... everyone? Okay, well, you know what? I'm sure this guy who's corresponding with God, I mean, if God told him it's the case, I mean, what am I going to do? Do a study?
to end my suffering for like the 10,000th time, and God did reply this time. However, it was a different God than the ones I spoke to before.
Oh.
This was the Norse god Odin.
Okay, back up. So he tried to kill himself, and Odin stopped.
Please help.
And Odin was like, "Don't kill yourself. You have so much to live for." He'd say, "Look, okay, here's my number. Just text me when you're feeling down. We can drink some Pepsi. You know, we can play like Lightning McQueen Racing. You know, have a Hot Pocket."
To save as many lives and help as many people as communism has hurt. Please help us in achieving our goal. I was praying to God to end my suffering for like the 10,000th time, and God did reply this time. However, it was a different God than the ones I spoke to before. This was the Norse god Odin. I will later explain to you over the course of this video why me communing with a pagan god does not count as heresy. He said my PTSD was a tool for him, and I had already completed the task he asked me to do. He said that he had cleaned me out of my PTSD. There'd be some ups and downs, but it was basically over. And that was right. This happened like 3 months ago, and my PTSD's gotten so much better. Thank you for healing me of PTSD. I prayed for you thousands of times to do this, and thank you so much. I'm just gonna keep thanking you in front of this audience to demonstrate how grateful I am. You don't understand. He said that he had been using me and that I'd already done most of the work he wanted me to do. He said that I didn't have to worry anymore and the rest of my life would be a lot easier. Your duty is to
So to be clear, he was praying for God to kill him, and then Jesus apparently left him on red, and so Odin picked up the phone and was like, I got you. Don't worry about it. The PTSD you got that we gave you through your mom beating you with a shovel. I guess God sent his mom shovel beatings in order to use it in some way. He was talking about him being used, and now he's been cured, and who knew it? PTSD had a cure all along, and it was prayer to Odin. But it's not heresy. It's not heresy, even though Christianity is a hyper monotheistic religion. It's not heresy. Truly. Just pray away your PTSD. My goodness. Just got to pick the right God. You know, that's how it should work with every disease. I think every disease should be controlled by a different God. And, you know, God, I got measles. Well, better go call the Yazidi bird protector of God's realm. Better go show myself to the peacock god of the Yazidi clan. Like, every time a different one. That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting. I think it'd be fair.
Find the best spirit and marry it and serve it and be nice to it and treat it with respect and compassion. So the spirit world is both very complex but also very simple. Odin is both a messenger and lord of life. Odin uses different lowercase gods, or in the Christian tradition, angels, to provide certain roles. In Odin's case, responsibility for Darwinistic evolution and being a messenger for God. If you read the Bible, you find it doesn't say other lowercase gods don't exist. And Odin says,
feels like a pretty wild thing to be left out, doesn't it? I mean, when they were collecting all the different passages, putting them together to, like, you know, eventually find what we now have as the King James Bible, which is the most common Bible version. Kind of a wild thing, just leave out the fact, like, oh, yeah, I'm one of, like, 22 gods. The other gods are not as cool as me, but there's, like, 21 other minor middle manager gods. You know, take care of all the paperwork, all the taxes and such. Feels like a major thing to kind of leave out.
He really likes the Christians, which is why he forced his people, the Nordics, to convert to Christianity to make them stronger. When I say Rudyard is founding a religion, I mean something along the lines of communism, Confucianism, or Taoism, which is a philosophy of moral conduct. You should perceive whatever Rudyard's doing as anti-communism. This religion is meant to be the inverse of communism, and so if you don't consider communism to be a religion, then this isn't a religion.
I didn't get this at first.
I don't need to hear your stupid commentary. But the point he's getting at is, like, it's not a religion in the sense that you know, we're following this new Jesus figure, we're following this new figure. It's a religion in the sense that communism is followed as some type of doctrinal religion, like it's treated as a religion by its followers. That's the point he's trying to get at. And he wants this kind of hodgepodge of paganistic demigods with Jesus Christ and this type of like ultimate WhatsApp crossover fanfic in order to create the Uberman that will take on the communist scourge. So basically, he wants to, like, you ever see that guy in The Mummy with all of the religious artifacts around his neck? You know, he had like the Christian cross, he had everything. This guy right here. He had the Jewish Star of David, he had the Christian cross, he had the Muslim crescent, and you know, he was hedging his bets. This is what he wants to do with every religion, but instead of defending himself from a mummy, he wants to do this against Karl Marx.
Give you good advice. We're gardeners who want the world to grow into a stunningly beautiful forest. We love you, the animals, the trees, and the spirits more than we could ever say. There's no worshiping here. You will still be here to revere the Christian gods with your heart and souls. Sorry, you will still be here to revere the Christian God with your heart and soul. Go to church, pray to Christ, and all that. Yahweh is also my Lord, so I do this too. However, I'm here to be your cool older brother to teach you useful advice. I will give you completely reasonable and practical advice on how to be successful and increase your reproductive odds. This is advice that will be completely obvious to you once you hear it and will help you, your children, your people survive, procreate, and have fun. Everything I say will be common sense and true. You can ignore the spirit world stuff if you'd like and then take the common sense stuff. Yahweh is Lord of your soul, and he is ultimate Lord, and Odin does not mess with Yahweh.
I just don't know how you go from my mom beat me with a shovel, endless horrible diddling, then but don't worry, I got all the women love me, because guess what, I'm having Skype calls with Odin, who is encouraging me to combine all of the religions in a crusade against communism. We're gonna have a pagan Christian army march on Istanbul. Oh, you don't think that I should, after hearing all that, you don't think that I should be like a big brother to your children? Why is that? Why? That doesn't seem particularly fair.
Yahweh is a good guy to say.
Can I tell you about the shovel? Did I tell you about the shovel? I told you about the shovel. You're still not on, but I don't understand.
The least. However, to a god, you mortals all appear as the worst kind of woman. You appear silly, childish, irresponsible, and ungrateful. Thus it goes without saying that your god did an act of stunning kindness to you against a brutal, uncaring, Darwinistic universe. You should always thank others when they're kind to you. So thank you for your service, Odin, and it's an honor to serve. As I'm here for you for the rest of my life. That means the entire rest of our lives, hopefully until nearly the 22nd century if I don't die, is a attempt to explain and articulate what just happened here. This is a historic what the fuck just happened moment that the spirit world used to show you that it's still real. Part of the reason Odin reached out to me is that I love the act of leading so much. I provide a different service in this game through
I'm sorry that I couldn't write a more delusional sentence than the gods reached out to me because I just love having power and leading people around so much. So Odin decided to reach out to me. Odin is like wouldn't Odin like reach out to like a Navy SEAL? Like think about the type of figure. If Odin was real for a moment, if all of this, you know, interesting ways that human beings have interpreted the world around them, if it manifested in actually the pagan god Odin was the one that was real all along, if that actually was the case, why would he choose this guy, the alt history YouTuber, bragging in comedy clubs to uninterested women about his subscriber count? Why would he choose this guy to represent him on Earth? Why not like a Navy SEAL or a very powerful general? Hey, if you're Odin, why not contact the military leaders of the most powerful military on the planet? Why a like 100 subscriber plus YouTube channel? Hell, Mr. Beast would make more sense. Mr. Beast also sounds like basically like already out of pagan god territory with branding like that. Odin is more a god of knowledge than a warrior god. And that's why they chose the 20-year-old. Odin works in mysterious ways.
Rudyard. I am another name for Lord Hermes Trismegistus. Rudyard serves me.
Come on, dude.
He will be operating under my protection.
Lord
Yahweh
Hermes
also owns him, but Yahweh also owns lots of people. And I spoke with Yahweh, and he's fine with letting me play with Rudyard right now. Hi, this is Rudyard. I'm going to take the narration back now. Thank you for your service, Odin. Odin likes these words for when someone offers you a service you respect, where he says a simple thank you or thank you for your service. And you should respond with, it's an honor to serve. I know that if I could...
So this is just cult stuff now. This is reared off very quickly into like cult style, like, thank you for... Okay.
Lead both my men and my YouTube audience, I would be capable of unlocking whatever I wanted out of life. I knew I already had the network, experience, and talent that I could accomplish whatever I wanted in my life. Odin intervened in the game, and he said, hey kid, if you write a list of every girl you masturbate to, I will solve every issue in your life. I feel like we've built up enough connection after 6 hours that I can share stuff like this with you, and...
Why? What's the purpose of this? What's the purpose? People are saying this is a grift. What's the grift? What's the grift? What legitimately, what's the grift? Who would want people to know this about them? Who would be like, out of religious ritual, I'm writing down the names of the women that I flick the bean to? Well, why would Odin want that? The god of knowledge reveals himself for the first time in forever to a human being, and he decides he wants the knowledge of what girls you flick the bean to. God comes back, goes to an alt mystery. I'm sorry. The pagan god Odin comes back into existence, goes to an alt history YouTuber on an ayahuasca trip, and then says, tell me who you masturbate to, and then I'll solve your problems. That is, you know, they said that like all the Greek gods were like very flawed and they weren't that good in comparison to, you know, they had a lot of humanistic failures. Maybe this, you know, maybe he's just a pervert god. Maybe this is just a man, not in the depths of his delusion, but in the depths of the pause and play of a pervert god.
You've seen so much worse so far in this story. This is nothing compared to some of the earlier stuff with my mom. I thought it was kind of weird when Odin said it, but he had healed...
Well, no, like, I can believe that somebody got beaten with a shovel, even though there's so much of it, it's like... And it's delivered in such a way that, you know, it kind of leaves you a little off kilter. The Odin stuff is a little different.
My PTSD, so I'll do what he says. You don't understand how much I love God, both Yahweh and Odin, for healing my PTSD. This might be too much information, but we're past that stage where every single girl on the list was white. And I'm only really attracted to white girls.
Why? What's the purpose of expressing this information? Why is he expressing any of this information? Why would you, these are the types of things that you like, you notice like, oh, I just noticed that, you know, for the last 2 hours when I was scrolling on the hub, it was all very short women. Why is it all short women? Oh gosh, am I into short? This never leaves. This never leaves. Like, people go through different experiences of that with whatever they're into or whatever. I'm not gonna say like liking white women is a fetish. It's just a very strange thing to like divert and like point out. Maybe it's to regain some respect with some of the right who's gonna be looking at this as like dumb heresy, and he's gonna be like, "Don't worry, guys.
Morally corrupt,
Don't worry,
bankrupt
okay?"
man.
When I was writing my masturbation list for Odin, all of the girls on it were white, so I think I'm still red-pilled, okay? Uncle Iroll, thank you so much for the gifted tier 1 sub. That could make a terrible cut. That could make a terrible edit.
I also find porn innately disgusting. Remember, I do have empathic abilities where I can look at the porn girl and then figure out her mental state and figure out what she's about. And they're all...
How did he discover this ability? Is this like a Jedi mind power thing? I remember I forget what this movie was, but there's this movie where there were these refugees trying to flee Russia, and they had to get in the submarine, and there was this woman who could like feel emotions of other people very deeply, and anytime someone got hurt, she would get hurt and stuff like that. How did he figure this out with the porn star girls? Did he like one day look at it and like it overpowered him, or could he just see when a girl's not interested? What does he mean here? Like, when you say empathic abilities, it makes it seem like he's like, oh, I can feel what it's like to be in her position. But like, can you? And if you can, need I say more?
Clearly addicted and really depressed, and I just find them really sad to watch. I don't know how you folks enjoy this or find this fun. Thus, I only look at old school artistic nudes, like the kind you'd keep at a museum's art. I find the female form irresistible, and thus I keep nude art around my house alongside my collections of artisanal leather, antique maps, and Chinese watercolor. Masturbating wasn't even really seen as bad until the early modern period, where it was really low on the medieval stack of sins, and its taboo status has more to do with the rise of reason making us scared of our animal instincts than anything itself in Christianity. Odin said that not letting young men masturbate is cruel due to how high their sex drive is. Odin came back to go talk to an all history YouTuber to tell him to combine the faiths and remind the people that gooning is okay, that the youth should goon away. Okay, makes sense. Odin said trying to block young men from masturbating is the equivalent of blocking young women from being deceitful. He said that this is a win for the boys, and he says, quote, "I can see your hypocrisy. I know you all do it."
What? It's like stopping, what does that even mean? It's like stopping young women from being deceitful. Well, one is like an embedded, like, natural urge, because people would, you're getting of that age and, supposed to produce children, that's species, etc. Deceitful? Just random punch down on women, I guess. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I know this guy's a real Casanova, he knows this, but, they also, whatever. He'll figure it out.
And you lie that you don't. You are liars and fakers. So when I looked at my wank sheet, Odin said, yes, human biology is biology. You don't have to be scared. Nothing in the Bible says you have to be scared about your own body. So when I looked at my wank sheet, Odin said, it's very clear you are very attracted to the women of your people. And you have zero plausible deniability in denying that at this point. I've seen this sheet. And he said, okay, kid, you were asking me for any reason to live, any reason to have energy. You feel lethargic. This sheet shows you very clearly care about something, so why don't you do it? He said, Rudyard, I know you don't get laid enough. I like your genetics. I would really like you to get laid more.
Okay.
And he said, okay, Rudyard, you're the hero of the fucking story. Why didn't you think you were? Your parents gave you such a pointlessly heroic name of Rudyard William Lynch. I know your backstory. We watched this video. You're a fucking hero, kid. Be a fucking hero. Be a hero for your people and save them. I've been trying to get the plot to get here. You finally got here. Thank you, Rudyard. So be a fucking hero. Your women would show some gratitude if you were a hero. So be a fucking hero. And he said,
does this sound like a delusional center of the world, everything depends upon me trip?
kid. So this sheet is a contract, and it shows that your body is controlled by life. Your soul is controlled by Yahweh, and your body is controlled by the life force. This is why you can't stop yourself from sexually fantasizing and masturbating, because your life is trying to propagate, which is its natural endpoint. Oh, the horror. You're thinking about making sure your species survives. You're thinking about making sure your people have children. You're such a terrible person for wanting to propagate your ancestral line and help all of your family and all of your ancestors. Rudyard, you already implicitly signed this contract with your own life force, and the spirits really like you having this much pleasure. We love watching you writhe in complete pleasure, and it makes us happy to know that you're happy.
I don't like the idea that Odin watches me do anything like that. I don't want Odin looking at me like that. I don't want Odin seeing my nether regions as I interact with anyone, myself or others. Why is Odin and the spirits watching you writhe in pleasure? Why would you could do that in the comfort and privacy of your own home? Why doesn't Odin stay in his tavern in Valhalla? Why does he need to come down and watch from the bushes? Dude, I think, unironically, my theory of him being a pervert god is currently the front runner. Because he came back, met an all-history YouTuber, told an all-history YouTuber to combine the religions, then told the all-history YouTuber to give him a list of who they masturbates to, says, you like the white women, and then told him that I like to watch you writhe in pleasure. Either Odin's coming onto him, or Odin's like a voyeur of some sort.
So, this should be pretty self-explanatory, Rudyard. Your people have dozens of heroes you could pull from. Just be the fucking hero, kid. We'll reward you if you do it right. Odin is the god of masturbation in Norse mythology, with various theories that Shakespeare was an incarnation of Odin, and Shakespeare being a masturbation joke. Shakespeare was pretty crude and sexual in the context of his time. Hermes also taught humans how to masturbate in the Greek tradition. You are about to experience suffering as a species on a horrible level, but we need to tell you that we still love you, and at the end of this evolution is something more beautiful than you could ever possibly imagine. If you make it, things will be so good.
Okay, I think that's a pretty good note to end.
Okay, we're not gonna, I don't need to care about this guy. I don't care about the commentator dude. So, final thoughts. I can't believe I'm saying this about anyone, but he should go back to doing alternative history videos. I don't think I'd say this to anybody else in the world, because I don't think this would be true for anyone else in the world. But I believe that Rudyard should go back to making alternative history videos. I do not see how this ends anywhere besides him completely losing himself in an ayahuasca trip or weird cult. I mean, he deleted these videos, he reeled it all back in, but this is not, like, look, I've seen some pretty bad delusion of grandeur. This is up there. The idea that the gods have personally chosen him as a masturbation ambassador on behalf of the pagan gods to combine the monoistic faith of Christianity with the pagan Norse faith in a final crusade against communism. And after while assisting that crusade, acts as an ambassador for masturbation, he shall be rewarded. This sounds like a bad, like fanfic, like masturbation fanfic, like porn fanfic. Like, the gods have come down to give me the power of what... This is not what it... You know, at the end of the day, if you're going to be doing poor history fanfics, I guess this is the next delusional evolution.
Corrupt,
don't worry,
bankrupt
okay?
Man.
When I was writing my masturbation list for Odin, all of the girls on it were white, so I think I'm still red-pilled, okay?